I'm back. Took a hiatus. Life got busy, and I've been meaning to get back to it. And after I came home from my usual Tuesday night activities, I was like, it's now or never. But with that, I have one really awesome update. I was wondering about copyright infringement, and so I actually emailed, um, let's see, Luis Ribeiro, and asked him if it was okay to be doing this. And he said yes. And I was really excited about that. And I should have just jumped on the train right then, but I was trying to think about maybe some different ways of doing it versus just reading, but whatever. I'm just going to read. We're just getting into we'll change it up as we go if we need to, if I want to. So here we go. Chapter 2, back to this book on the Heavenly Spheres by Helena Avila and Luis Ribeiro. And it is called The Universe According to Astrology. Models and perspectives. In order to understand astrology, one must first understand the cosmology upon which it rests. With this knowledge, it is not possible to obtain a real understanding of its foundation, its dynamics, or the metaphysics of astrology. The most important thing to consider is the fact that this model describes the universe according to the parameters that are astrological, which differ substantially from contemporaries' scientific models. Ooh. When we currently speak of stars and planets, the image that most frequently comes to mind is that of the solar system, with the sun at the center and the 8 known planets, as well as Earth, orbiting around it. Figure 2 depicts the image of a solar system as if observed from a point in space outside of it. Viewed this way, it is easy to forget that we reside inside the solar system and that it is from within that we see the planets and the stars. This representation expresses the objective reality of the solar system and emphasizes the concrete and physical reality of the planets. Albeit correct, this perspective does not express a viewpoint that is appropriate for astrology. Turn the page. The astrological reality. In astrology, the observational point of view is Earth. All astrological knowledge is constructed as a function of the reality observable from our planet. Thus, the planets are represented as soon as they Thus, the planets are represented as they are seen by a terrestrial observer. To the observer, here on Earth, the planets appear to move around the Earth and not around the Sun. As such, it is understood that, in terms of symbolism and interpretation, astrology considers the Earth as its center, geocentric perspective, not the Sun, which is a heliocentric perspective. It is not a matter of choosing one of the models over the other, but of understanding that both represent the same reality, but from different perspectives. The heliocentric model displays the solar system in its entirety, while the geocentric model displays the sky as it is seen from Earth. The key, then, is to select a model that is appropriate to the objective at hand. When the object is the study of astrology, which observes the stars from a terrestrial perspective, a geocentric model should be adopted. Moving on to the celestial spheres model. The astrological universe is remarkably well pictured in the Ptolemaic model, also known as the celestial spheres model, from which were taken the majority of the significations and behaviors of the astrological planets. In this model, the Earth is situated at the center of the universe, the point of greatest materiality. Around it, another way to say that is like the densest. The densest. Yeah. Around it, the 7 planetary spheres, including the sun and the moon, as well as the sphere of the fixed stars and the zodiac, are grouped into concentric circles. In addition to the spheres, says the tradition, we also find that we find there the divine kingdoms, which transcend astrology itself and constitute a topic of theological study. The ninth sphere, the most distant from Earth, is called the Primum Mobile. It is called this because it is the sphere that the primary motion is generated. And this is the motion that causes the rotation of the heavens from east to west in the course of 24 hours. And I'm actually facing south, so east to west. Funny. Primary motion is the most powerful and important of all the celestial movements. It carries the stars, the sun, the moon, and the planets around Earth. In this way, it marks the passage of the days and describes to the planets their power to act because it establishes when they rise, culminate, and set. It is also within the celestial sphere that the zodiac, the basis of astrological interpretation, is represented. Just below this, we find the eighth sphere, that of the fixed stars, which constitutes the starry background that is observed in the night sky. This sphere, called the firmament, represents the immutable sky of the constellations and stars in all its majesty and symbolism. Next, we find the 7 planetary spheres, which contain the 7 planets visible to the naked eye. The sequence is ordered according to the apparent speed of each planet. Thus, Saturn, the slowest, the slowest body, occupies the 7th, the most distant sphere, also known as the 7th heaven. Jupiter's sphere is next, then that of Mars, then that of the Sun, which occupies the center of this sequence. I just saw a thumbs up coming out of my mouth, and I don't know what that was. Okay. Like a bubble. Okay. Jupiter's sphere is next, and that of Mars, and that of the Sun, which occupies the center of the sequence. Then that of Venus, that of Mercury, and lastly, that of the Moon, the swiftest of the visible celestial bodies. At the center, encircled by all the other spheres, is the Earth, differentiated by 4 layers that correspond to the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. To the earth element, the heaviest, corresponds the solid parts of the planet. The islands, continents, mountains, etc. Water obviously corresponds to the oceans and rivers and lakes. Above the earth and water hovers the air, which I mostly am all air in my chart, which corresponds to the atmosphere and the winds. According to the tradition, these elements would have been encircled by fiery sphere form called phenomena. 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 Oh my God, that word. Phenomena. Such as falling stars, comets, and aurora borealis, would have originated. Today we might establish a parallel between the fiery zone of the utmost atmosphere of the terrestrial atmosphere. Today we might establish a parallel between the fiery zone and the uppermost layer of the terrestrial atmosphere, where one can observe friction and where cosmic radiation strikes. According to tradition, the celestial spheres are composed of a spiritual substance, and therefore they are perfect and immutable. Only the elemental sphere are called the sublunar world because it is below the lunar sphere. The elemental sphere is called the sublunar because it is below the lunar sphere. Because the moon's the last. Okay. Or the first. However you're going. Okay. It is subject to changes due to material nature. We know today that the heavens are not immutable nor perfect and are composed of the same substance as Earth. Nonetheless, for a terrestrial observer, this is how the celestial sphere is perceived: perfect, immutable, and grand. From an astrological point of view, these pres- presuppositions continue in place. Everything terrestrial is subject to change and will eventually encounter deterioration and decay. These changes, however, do not occur randomly, but according to the rhythm dictated by the movement of the planets. As they move, the planets act upon the four terrestrial elements, changing them in different ways, and consequently causing changes on Earth and on everything it contains, including human beings. This fundamental principle of astrology, there exists a correlation between celestial movements and the events on Earth that permit us to interpret and foresee these changes. Thus, in order to understand how the planets and stars are related to the changes on Earth, it is necessary to identify the correlations of each planet, sign, and star with the four elements, that is, with the terrestrial world. This is the basis of astrological study. The world of elements. Now that we have a general view of the, oh, you know what? Hold on. Let's just do this. Let's just show this picture. I don't know if it'll really. Oh, I can't even see. Wait. No, wait. There. No. My little thing's not gonna work. Oh well. Okay. The world of elements. Let's see. Now that we have a general view of the astrological universe, we'll take up the matter of the elements, the forces on Earth upon which the planets act. Primary qualities. The elements, the building blocks of the universe, are in turn composed of four fundamental principles. Primary qualities. These are hot and cold, dry and moist. These qualities represent the dynamic basis of all behavior pertaining to substances: energy, density, resistance, and malleability. They explain the essence of the elements and consequently of matter and of the material world. As they combine with each other, the primary qualities define the four elements. The qualities also define the essence of the various astrological factors, namely the planets and signs. Hot and cold imprint dynamism onto the whole system. The reason they are called active qualities, and that is the reason why they are called active qualities, those are associated with the concept of energy. Hot represents what is active, energetic, radiant, centrifugal, luminous, light, and subtle. Cold represents what is static, absorbent, centripetal. But now I want to look up the difference between centrifugal and centripetal. Okay. Dark, heavy, dense. The hot quality corresponds to the masculine, which is expansive and dynamic. Cold corresponds to the feminine, which is contracting and static. The masculine principle represents activity, dynamism, exteriorization, and expansion, while the feminine corresponds with receptivity, contemplation, internalization, and contraction. Everything in the universe is subject to opposing forces, which manifest as polarities such as light and dark, expansion, contraction, movement, immobility, activity, passivity, etc. The interaction between hot and cold generates two new poles, moist and dry. The moist quality corresponds with fluid interaction. It is generated from the qualities of cold, since the increase in coldness has humidity as a natural consequence. For example, the coldness of night leads to the condensation of dew. It represents adaptability, malleability, plasticity, smoothness, and as a consequence, those things that are easily molded, slippery, soft, and smooth. It has no form in itself, but represents the principles of cohesion and form. The qualities of dry correspond with tense interaction. It is generated from the quality hot, since the increase in heat has dryness as a consequence, as may be verified when anything left to dry out in the sun. Yeah, or baking clay. Yeah. It represents resistance, hardness, rigidity, and therefore those things that are abrasive, breakable, and cold. Its principal property is the maintenance of form. Continuing, nope, containing. Containing, giving structure and crystallizing. Because they are generated from active qualities, moist and dry are called passive qualities. They are connected to the concept of form. For example, clay is malleable. Hey, I'm not reading ahead at all, so that was cute. Clay is malleable when moistened, but hardens when dried in an oven. Let's see. I'm gonna break this up, but wait, no, my backpack's not around. Let me see if I can one more time. Let me see, like, hot and dry. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'm calling it. Next video coming out very soon.